Taylor, what are you doing?
I'm doing the frog thing for later.
Are you?
That's what that's up there for, because I work better when it's bigger for some weird reason, and then I go in digitally.
What? Say that again.
I work better when it's like big like that for some weird
Oh,
reason. I don't know why. Like I work better when I'm standing up. I can't like sit down for a long time. So then I just go back and forth from like I'm gonna fix something over here and then do it digitally. Yeah. It's a workout, but it's worth it in the end.
make sure you get used to working in your sketchbook too, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just felt like standing up today because I
I
was
get that.
sitting all day yesterday.
I have this one, which is pretty big.
Oh nice.
And I use that for just going out and cafe sketching a lot,
Yeah.
And it's funny, you can go pretty big. Nobody even notices.
I don't think anyone cares what other people are doing. That's the
They
thing.
don't. They don't
Like
at
it
all.
no.
They care about themselves.
Yeah.
And
Really?
whatever.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting how we're in such a weird, like super weird narcissistic moment.
Oh yeah.
But in some ways, if you're sketching, it's good because it's like cool. They don't care because I don't want them to know I'm sketching because then they change their behavior.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just like, oh, who are you? Like sort of thing. And it's just like the only time I actually see people like paying attention is like the people that like paint at the beach. Like the people that paint like the overlook of Laguna.
Oh yeah.
That's it. That's the only time I've ever seen people
But
like
you know what? You know what's weird is like depending on where you go, like if
Yeah.
you go to Laguna Beach or you go to where's some other places? I just certain places that are sort of art meccas, like Laguna Beach, or some place maybe that's like a lot of people go to walk around or something. Then for in some weird subconscious way, I think they kind of see you as part of the entertainment of the area.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm in Laguna Beach. It's a plein air painting. Oh, look, there's a plein air painting. And it's kind of like they think you're at Disneyland and you're playing some part or something.
Yeah.
I mean, they're usually really nice. Usually around people, they're usually really nice.
Right.
And I always look at it and just go, well, they're giving me free models. The only other time is when they, I was drawing some guy at dinner the other night, and it's just the way it is right now. It's so sparse, kind of when you go somewhere. Like usually when there's a lot of people eating at a restaurant or whatever, they don't even notice what anybody's doing, right?
Yeah.
But when there's like one table over there of a few people and one table over here of a few people, then the guy was like looking at me and like probably didn't know what I was doing. And he just noticed I was staring at him all the time. And then my girlfriend, because she knows everybody in town, she goes, that guy's a big mover and shaker up here. He owns the lumber yard and he's got all his money and all this stuff. And I don't think he was a jerk or anything, but it's just, he probably isn't used to like anybody. He definitely had like an authority kind of thing. Like he's used to controlling his situation. You know what I mean?
Some people are more inwards with themselves and some people are more outwards, especially when they like do that much things and they're just kind of like always looking around. It's weird. I guess it depends on like their personality.
Yeah, I mean, it probably depends on how self-conscious you are and things like that. And then I had gone the other way where this, it's somebody I don't even really know. My girlfriend knows them. They own another business up here.
Right.
I always draw over at my girlfriend's restaurant, and then they came in, and his girlfriend's real boisterous. When she comes over and she's like, wow, that's so cool, or whatever. And I go, yeah. And she goes, and I hate it when people do this. And she goes, are you drawing me? And I go, no. And she goes, well, you should draw me. And I go, I only draw what I like to draw. You know what I mean? I go, I don't like anybody to know what to draw. And then she started bothering me about it. And then she like basically was practically sitting in my lap. And then my girlfriend, because my girlfriend still thinks it's weird to draw nude models. Okay. Because she's from the Midwest. She doesn't know anything about art stuff.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah. And sometimes he does, it's weird. He sketches nude people or whatever. And I go, it's not weird. And then she's like, well, I'll pose nude for you. And I'm just sitting there, her boyfriend's right here. And I'm just sitting there going, if that was my girlfriend, I'd be super irritated with that. You know what I mean? And then she kept going down that path. You should draw me nude. It's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't understand. Okay, this Elan.
Yeah.
Who was this dude?
He was just this older dude who kept approaching me and Camille. Like at first he came up to us and he's like, "Oh, you guys look like you're really enjoying painting. Mind if I like take a picture?" We're like, "No." Um, and then he went away, and then he came back with pizza, and he was trying to offer us pizza. You can ask Camille about it. And we're just like, "No, dude, just
Did
what
he
we
have
want
a?
you to do is just stop bothering us. We want
Did
to
you tell
paint.
him
We
that?
want Yeah, we pretty much like, yeah, we don't want anything, please. Like, no, thank you. We're just, it was,
It's weird because I never have any problem with people at all when I go out sketching, and I don't know, maybe it's because you guys are younger, obviously female.
yeah, that.
Um, that's a factor, but I really, it's like my girlfriend. This is years ago. I mean, 30, I don't know, 20 some odd years ago. You know how guys will come up in a bar or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, let me buy you a drink or whatever." My girlfriend's like, "I'm fine. I got a boyfriend. Leave me alone."
Yeah, yeah.
And he comes over, and then they start pestering and everything. And I go, "Why didn't you tell this guy, whatever?" And this was just weird to me. Is the answer I get a lot from just different people is they go, well, "I didn't want to be mean," and I go, "He's a creep. Who cares if you're being mean? Like he's being mean by invading your space and not taking no for an answer. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like don't anyway. Don't let anybody do that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Especially someplace like that because that's a pretty populated area and everything. And if he starts
Yeah.
doing anything stupid, you can just probably go whatever, say something, and people probably get running.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
I personally, if it's some kind of creeper thing, I would just go leave me alone. Like I don't want pizza. I don't want anything from you. I want you to leave me alone. That's it. You know?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. That kind of behavior I never understood. I just don't get it. Like when I was young and going to parties and trying to meet girls, if they weren't into it, I just was okay. That's fine. You know? I didn't even do that much of that, to be honest with you. Okay. All right. I just got the screen grab. But I mean, in general, and then I also think you get better and better at it where people don't notice you're doing it. Like I can sit 3 feet from somebody and they usually don't know I'm doing it. I think you get better as you go.
Hmm.
Um, and then because I just, like I said, I don't usually have any problems with it. And you also got to be careful, if some guy comes over or whatever, and he might just trying to be friendly, and so don't just assume that they're being a creep. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But sometimes they're just actually trying to be friendly. I'm like overly aware of it, so I just stay away from everybody because I just don't want to, I just don't want to think I'm being a creep. Um, okay, Anthony, where are you at again?
I'm here.
This looks a lot better. What do you think?
I like it. I just kind of struggled with the trees.
Well, they're better though. They're a lot better.
Yeah.
That's the thing I want to see is I just want to see jumps of improvement. Okay, and the trees look way better. And I like this where you did these here and then you just did these as sort of silhouette. The one thing I'd say now is like make sure that this, maybe put a planter here, maybe break up this where it meets the edge here, maybe there's
Yes.
something right there. Maybe just put a couple things in front of these things, or just different ways for these buildings to end. Like this one probably doesn't need it because it's got this popping out and that kind of looks nice. Like you're doing a lot of things in here that are nice, nice solutions. Like again, that tree right there, and against this one, and then stuff's dropping off back here. So you're getting a nice. Plus, it's just a nice sense of like it's pretty tight, but it's like you put enough information in where it has a density to it that's kind of nice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like a lot of shapes and stuff like that, which I think is cool. And then you did this thing here where you faded it off, which is you see how that works, where that foreground
Yeah.
element comes forward a little bit.
Yeah. No, it looked better this time.
Yeah. Okay. Good job, man. I just add in a few things down at the bottom, and you're out.
Hmm.
Is Brianna in here? Where is she?
I'm here.
Okay, so you settled on this one, right?
Yes.
This tree. We talked about this tree, right?
Yeah, I tried
I think it's
having
better.
at it again.
Yeah, it
Okay.
looks to me like it's better.
I think I spent too much time on it, so I didn't really like fill in.
What I
As much
might
as I
do
want
here is
to.
just do a little bit of a maybe a containment line thing. So I might come in here. And I don't even know if this will work. We'll see. Because I think if I do a containment line around sort of this exterior a little bit, it should pull these together a little more. So maybe just come in here and sort of, I kind of want to see how it creates like a little more of a unit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, it
So
does.
same thing here. You know, I'm just kind of outlining that exterior line, and it'll just kind of pull the whole shape together a little bit. We want to make sure nothing's ever, see, that's a little better. We want to make sure nothing's ever disconnecting, right?
Yeah. I'll definitely try to take more time with it. I just take my time.
I think
But,
these
like,
could get a little less, let's look. I think as they go up, like they come down,
mhm.
you know, put my serrated edge. But I think as they go up, and I could be wrong here, I think I might want to get a little, just sort of more linear with them maybe or something like that. So they're not so many spiked same shapes like that. Let me see what that looks like.
Because some of them look indistinguishable, I guess is the word. Like I had a few pulled up.
What's that called? A thatched roof?
Yeah. I believe so.
Or, you know, there's another roof because you get all the old, what's the, shoot, I don't know what those are called. There it is. Yeah, so if you look at it here, and I know you're closer, but if you notice, it goes, like it's sort of that same same idea we were talking about with the tree, where I was saying the interior of the tree gets to be more or less texture. If you look here, you get a lot of like you got some information right there, but then when it comes in here, it gets very textural, and then you get more information down here again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think I'd go for in the interior a little more of this kind of. This is a really good reference, by the way.
And I'm gonna look it up soon.
A little. It's on Wayfair of all things.
Wayfair.
It's what is it here?
Okay.
And get a little more of that textuality because look at even up close like this, I'm just seeing mostly in here. Just look at that. Well, this is a good reference. Here, I'm going to send it to you.
Thank you.
Chat. That idea of interpreting texture is a huge thing. Okay. I think it's a huge thing. I think it's one of the early hard hurdles to go over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I told you guys when Norm took us to, or we were going to go to Descanso Gardens, right? And that class is sort of like my Saturday class. We're always going places. So I remember the week before he goes, okay, next week we're going to Descanso Gardens. I panicked for like a week. I mean, I had nightmares about it because I go, all Descanso Gardens is like billions of leaves and trees and bushes and plants. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. You know what I mean? Then you learn how to organize it. And that's kind of what this part of this is. Okay. That you're learning how to organize sort of hard to define shapes. You know what I mean? And, you know, learning how to interpret them. Okay.
Okay.
Hang on. And I could probably find, hang on. What the hell's a chat at?
It should be at the bottom of your screen.
No, Zoom always puts this bar up here, when you're sharing your screen, it puts it over on the screen you're working on, and then you keep pulling it over, and then it jumps back. Oh, it's weird. So here, I'm going to put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
And then let's look. Now, this is where we talked about a little bit about sort of Viscom sketching as opposed to illustrative sketching, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if, let me see if I can find this because I know it's got to be in here. Where'd it go? Here it is.
I think what I'm struggling to with, like, since it is so like close up in the foreground, like if it's going to be put in shadow anyway, so how much of the roof I want to be legible.
Yeah. Okay. I just drew all over it. Hang on. I want to see if I can find it. So one of the standard things, and maybe we'll do some in here if you guys want. I don't think it'd be a bad thing to do. This is just a real standard way of doing this. Hang on. Are these kind of texture pages? You know, and then sometimes we take them like this, you know, and you wrap them around a form, right? Just all these different texture ideas. Let me see if I can find more. Let's see if we can find. Hang on. These are people I know to cover this thing over at ArtScene. Here we go. So look. Now this is a little overly simplified, but you kind of get the point, right?
Yeah, like the layering of it.
Yeah, and that's not a very good example. Let me see if I can find a better one. This looks better. Yeah, that's better. Like this one over here is not too bad. And I like this kind of falling over the edge like that. But that's pretty nice. You're just sort of laying over, and that looks like he's just using the pencil this way. Now, I know you can't really do that digitally, but usually that kind of thing, I pull the pencil this way because it makes that nice serrated edge, right?
Right. And I'm trying to like still get used to like drawing, like using Sketchbook digitally.
Using Sketchbook Pro?
Yes. I think there's something wrong with my like Sketchbook Pro.
What is that?
It doesn't have like that bar like with like files and editing and stuff like that.
That might
like
be some kind of, I would check preferences on that. Oh, it might just be this. Hang on. I mean, I just had a Premiere disaster. I was editing this long video. So Monday, I had to put out this long video, right? So I got it done Sunday. And then Monday I get up, I spend the whole day doing the first part of the next part of the video. You know, this is all traditional stuff. It's not digital. Digital's a lot easier to do. But and then I come in here and I start editing the thing together and all that. And then I get it all edited and I go, okay, all I gotta do is color correct it. And all of a sudden something totally went wrong with the file. And I'm like, and I went short a little bit on my illustration class. And I was super bummed about it. because I'm like, I have to do this all over again. And it's like there's 2 classes that critically need that information right now. Anyway, so I got this morning, started going down the rabbit hole, figuring out. I was just about to start it all over again, which it would have taken me all day. I probably would have had to cancel this class to get it done. And anyway, I looked it up, and this guy goes, here's a fix for it. I'm like looking at going, I always think like this. I go, that's not going to work. It's too simple. And I go and I do it. It was nothing. You know, I just had to reset the layout. That's all I had to do. And it fixed it, you know. But it's like this kind of stuff with all this software. A lot of times it's just a simple fix. And so let's see. So let me pull this over. You're talking about this bar?
Yeah, that's all I see.
Oh, you have this bar.
But it doesn't look like yours.
What does it look like?
It doesn't have, like, for one, the color or the bucket tool or the French curve.
I think you can add to it. General, where is it? I think there's a way you can add to it. So you can take things out or whatever. Oh, you can save its default format as PSD. I didn't know that.
You go to window and then it has all like the drop down stuff that like.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, because when you go, it has like.
Oh, it's right here.
Like brush library and all that other stuff, and then it just pulls everything up.
Yeah. So there you go. So I guess you got to probably add it in because some people don't want certain things in there.
Mm.
Like I don't care about having the Copic library or any of that kind of stuff because I don't really paint in here. I only draw in here.
Mm.
And usually only when I really need a, well, sometimes I'll jump over because I do like this fountain, this little dip pen. I like this one a lot.
Mm.
I should find out if I can get that in Photoshop. But and Photoshop for some reason won't put in a perspective grid. Which, by the way, once I put a perspective grid in, I don't really know. I mean, the nice thing about Sketchbook Pro to me is it feels, for me, the way I set it up, which I don't really even set it up, but it's fairly simple. It's a fairly simple interface. So when I just want to go in and draw or something, it's kind of nice because I don't need all that other stuff that I have in Photoshop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I could kind of pare this down where it's like, okay, I just have my drawing tools and that's it. Because if I'm going to paint something I create in here, then I'm going to bring it over to Photoshop and I'm going to do it in Photoshop, you know? And some people paint here and everything, and it's fine. I mean, if you like that, that's cool. I just like that it feels like a very standalone-y, just kind of drawing program for me, you know?
Mm.
It's simple. But you're not having any problems with the interface or anything, right?
I think I just might need to take it off and re-download it just because I have it on PC and I don't have that upper like bar like Mac does, like with file like edit and stuff, and when I right click nothing shows up where that would usually be.
That again might just be a preference thing, or
because when I go to preferences, I only have options of general, which are they're just a bunch of switches, and then the information. So
yeah,
preferences doesn't allow me to do anything.
well, whoever was saying it, some of it's in your windows up here. Because when I downloaded this one, what's extra? No, okay. When I downloaded this version, which I did right before we started this semester, nothing was there. I had to tell it to put everything in there.
Okay.
Did you try maybe reset to default or something? Because those were all default things that came up on my PC computer when I loaded it up the first time.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Mine, I just had to, like I said, I went here, I think, and then I just pulled up the stuff that wasn't there, and it popped up. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If it keeps doing that, tell me, and then we'll figure it out.
Okay, sounds good.
And plus Windows. I mean, Windows, right?
Right.
Everybody hates Windows, or they should.
The Mac is so expensive.
I agree with you. And then one thing I will say now, I'm getting kind of fed up with Mac a little bit.
Mm.
Like Mac cares at all. But and part of the reason is that ever since Jobs died, they just don't innovate anymore. We were just talking about this the other day. They had another Mac event, and they go, it's weird because it pops up on like wherever social media, and they go, here's the big announcements, the big giant announcements from the Apple event. And I'd start reading it, and I go, more iPhones, more iPads, more iWatch. Like, what do you mean big announcement? There's no big announcement here. You know what I mean? So if they just keep iterating the same product over and over and over again, and it's like, it used to be, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but it used to be when Jobs would do those presentations, which were awesome. It was like, you know, the gods coming down from Mount Olympus with this crazy new amazing thing, you know? Like that smartphone thing, iPhone, when that came out, that was amazing when it came out. And the iPad, same thing. You know, and then you're going, man, what's this guy going to come up with next? And boy, when he split, man, that visionary thing went with him, you know? That company is slowly becoming Windows. You know what I mean? And it's inevitable unless the person who created the company infuses the company with his DNA or her DNA, right? So Walt Disney managed to do that. Why? Because he had this core group of 9 old men that he'd worked with who created that industry, basically. And then he brought them in as they were getting old and went, hey, man, we're getting all I just invested a bunch of money in Chouinard, which became Cal Arts, because he wanted a farm team. You know, he wanted a stable he could get talent from, right? There was no animation program or any of that stuff before those guys. Those guys all came out of fine art. They just could draw their asses off and they learned it. And then kind of, you know, invented a lot of it. Anyway, so then he goes, what you guys are going to do now is you're in the twilight of your career. You're going to mentor all these new young guys coming in because you guys are masters of this now. So now the masters start handing down this way that we think and this way that we work. And then when he died, those guys were still there and they carried it on and they sort of, you know, structured the company kind of based on Walt. You know what I mean? And by the way, to me, it still feels like that. I mean, I was over there quite a while ago, but it still feels kind of like that. Like when I ever go to the studio or something, you're like, it still feels like Walt. You know what I mean? It still kind of feels like that. The place still looks like that. All the places where he worked, you know, those old buildings are still there. You know, but it still, you know, definitely still feels like that. It's got a very upbeat feel about it. You know, when you work for that company, it feels pretty upbeat. Like they were the only people I ever really liked traveling with were Disney people. Because they were fun. But whenever I was working for other companies, I traveled alone. You know what I mean? I'd even go so far as to go, if I thought I was going to have to travel with somebody for work, I'd go, I'm going to take the train. You know, because I know they'd go, why are you going to take the train? I wanted to take the train, but I knew that they wouldn't go. You know what I mean? So then they'd book their flight and everything, and then the person who booked everything would come back and go, you know, actually it's more expensive to take the train. I go, that's fine, just book me a flight. That's fine. But now I'm not going to be on the same plane with that person because they already booked their flight because I don't want to fly with them. And I go, give me a hotel, not with them. You know what I mean? I want to be by myself. You know, I love to travel by myself, especially when it's on somebody else's dime. Okay. Let's go. Okay, you got it on the grid now, correct?
That's mine.
Yeah, I know. You got it on the grid now, right?
Yeah.
It looks like it. Okay. I don't know if these aren't following that, though. These windows are not following that.
Oh.
Okay, here's the other thing I would say. When you haven't got a handle on like the 2-point yet, don't do things like this. Right?
No, it's like I was trying to make it all straight, but the one other tool on the bar doesn't work that much. I'm trying to get a line, and I was like, what's going on with this tool?
It's not going to let you do a diagonal that's off of the perspective grid.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to freehand it or something. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And the reason, and the people always do this when we're doing this basic project, and they go, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna move this way, and I'm gonna do this. I'm like, okay, where's the vanishing point gonna go? You know, and they don't have an answer. And I go, okay, so why are you jumping into this? Like, okay, you want to do a 15-point auxiliary perspective thing, and you're not understanding how that works. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then when you have a lot of experience, yeah, I mean, a lot of times I just freehand the stuff in over my grid because I kind of know how it works. But you gotta, I wouldn't try doing that tricky stuff until like for some reason, all these windows are not on the grid, which I don't understand.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a background. I got it from the picture.
Yeah, that's fine, but why aren't these windows in perspective? Right?
Oh,
And they're also sort of uneven. And if I don't have the perspective grid right now, but if I have my perspective grid, one of the things I can do is, I could ghost a line here and ghost a line here. Oops. And get the width right. How are you doing that? And I wouldn't do it this heavy, by the way. I'd barely even mark it. And then I can just kind of break this up and then shape my windows. Does that make sense?
see.
Okay. And then, kind of these would, now I would correct that stuff and get rid of that. And then this also is off perspective. So this is going up somewhere up here. Wait a minute. So let's do this. And what I'm never understanding when something's off is that the perspective grid does this for you. That's why we're doing this, by the way. So this is going here. And then this is going out here somewhere. You see that?
Yeah.
So that can't happen because if you tell me the vanishing point is out here somewhere, this one's going way up here somewhere. So that tells me you're not doing this, like you're turning off the grid or something, because the grid won't let you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you pull it, unless you've got this thing tweaked where it was like that or something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which you could do if you want to do a canted angle or something, right?
Yeah.
But we're not doing a canted angle. So get these on that perspective grid, right?
Yeah.
So I would just kind of recreate it. Brianna.
Yeah, Mike?
Okay, so we know what we're doing, right?
Yes.
Okay, another thing here, this is bamboo right here, right?
Yes, sir.
So I would probably, see how it looks flat?
Mm.
It looks like it's kind of, doing that.
Okay.
And then, so we want it to look, and then another thing, you could probably give it a little bit of a concave, yeah. What I usually do is then I put this in, and then I do the little overhang that it gets. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. Like I wanted to make it actually bowed a bit, but I didn't want to
Bowed like
didn't want it
this?
to be out of perspective.
Like that one?
Yeah.
you could do
But going out.
Yeah, this
So
way?
yes.
Like sort of this way?
Yeah.
Or this way? Or this way?
That way. Yeah.
Okay. You could do that. I mean, one thing you can do is you just go, okay. Because I also think it's good to, get your sort of seeing skills together, if that makes any sense. So if I know this is straight, yeah, I can kind of go curve that a little bit. That's fine.
Okay.
And then make sure that you're also thinking about, these cuts,
Ellipses.
whatever they're called. Yeah, those ellipses. Where am I looking? If I'm looking down at them, then the curve is going to be going this way. And if this kept going up and I was looking up, then they would start to go this way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So just think about that, because a lot of times people don't think about that. And we've talked a little bit now about like when we're doing a branch, because we talked about foliage now, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I believe we have.
We did, right?
I think
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. I
Yeah.
remember that. You know, again, I might put a little textural thing in there, but if I put it, I mean, that looks fine. But if I put it, you know, backwards, then it looks weird,
Okay, true.
right? But if I do it the other way, it's telling the viewer, it's giving the viewer two bits of information. Hey, there's some texture going on here, and hey, that's cylindrical, right? I don't have to do it everywhere. I can just do a little of it here and there. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. So you're good, right?
Right. And just one question. Do I have to make, or do you think I should make the faces like discernible, or can I
Well, she's
just
fine.
block it in?
She's fine.
Or like the guy walking down on the street who's looking up.
With her, all I might do is darken up some of this back here because the light's coming from this direction.
Mm-hmm.
I like this little pull fold. I might define, you know, this is like a shawl thing, right? Where is this?
Supposed to be like Philippines.
And I don't know the native or the, you know, the typical patterns there, but I might put a little pattern here or something on her shawl.
Mm-hmm.
And then make this, just those little fringes, I might make them a little more discernible. You know, not much more than that.
Okay.
And then him, at that distance, I'm not going to see a lot, so I might just lean on, let's see, one thing, I'm, you know, and I know I'm saying don't do tone, but maybe a little here. You know, I might be able to get away from that at that distance. You know, with sort of using that shadow value to fill up half the face. Here's a good example of that, by the way. I think and I do that all the time, especially at that distance. I do it all the time. You know, this dude does it all the time. He's not doing it so much here, but look how little information is in that face.
Wow.
Very little. And when you look at these paintings, I mean, they look crazy finished. And when you get up close to him, you're like, wow, there's nothing there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he does a lot of what I just said. I mean, look at this one.
Oh, yeah,
Hardly
definitely.
anything there. And the reason I point that out is because if you guys saw this painting, I mean, look at it. It looks totally finished out, right? But then when you get close to it, look at all this stuff is basically just indicated. Look at that. There's nothing there. Look at these hills back here. I mean, it's all super nothing there, you know? So that's playing off that same thing. Let me see if I can find one though. He does it all the time. Of course, now I can't find one. Kind of doing it. He's doing it there, but he's doing the whole face, right? See it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no detail in there. It's just a big shame. He does a lot though, where he just does it to about here, you know. And then when you go up close to it, that's nothing but just a big block of value. And then it goes into and then you see the bottom of the nose. You see the shadow off the bottom of the nose, shadow off of this, and that's all he does. Then he cools off the bottom part to show like a 3-day beard or whatever, and that's it. Okay.
Okay.
With these kind of guys, I mean, this is my favorite kind of thing, is this kind of really, look at this one. It's a little different version, but he's still just, look at, he masked that whole top part right there. There's no eye or anything. And then here's the bottom of the nose, and then a little bit of the indication of the hair, and that's it, okay? And these are paintings, by the way, that go for like probably 250 grand, probably. I mean, he's a major dude.
Wow.
And these things are mind blowing, man. He's always in the Autry show. So if they have the Autry show this year, go.
What's the show?
It's called Masters of the American West. And I've had students here and there where they go, well, I'm not into like cowboys and so I go, who cares about the subject matter? These guys are amazing, and women are amazing painters. Just absolutely amazing painters and sculptors, you know. And then some of it, it's not all West stuff. Some it's like landscape, the idea of the West, landscape, wildlife kind of stuff, you know. And it goes everywhere from really beautiful painterly stuff like that all the way to this. There's this, I think it's a woman. She does these super photorealistic things that aren't really, that's not really my thing. But I mean, she does it really well. I mean, if you like that kind of thing, she does it really well. Where it looks like she spent like 150 hours on every painting, you know what I mean? Which she probably didn't. She probably got some technique.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't even imagine like how long those would take.
One of those, Bill Anton's, his probably don't take as long.
True.
Because he's just going in with that, like, it's the same thing as this guy. Now I'm getting off track, but I don't.
I'm sorry.
Well, because I think this stuff's important, because I think it does relate to this.
Yeah.
It relates to this just like that. Well, how much do I need? Well, I can just, he's far away. So I was going to go and rely on the eye sockets when I go, well, he's got a hat on. So I can just get away with, you know, blocking that whole
Looking the
top.
whole face. Yeah.
You know, another thing I would probably do here. You're probably going to get like a pull fold, like right there, probably.
True.
You know, maybe one right there. You don't want to overdo them. This leg where it's doing this. Now it might do that actually, but you know, you probably, this is in front of that, you know, but you might get a little radiating fold in there, right? Usually like in an elbow or a knee, like let's say this is an elbow, you get this fold right there, you know, and it kind of radiates like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Actually, I have a drapery handout that I'll give you guys. I forgot about that. Actually, I need to give it to my other class too. I just realized that.
For our illustration?
For no, Saturday.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna try and get a model on Saturday. Not this Saturday.
Please.
Maybe. I mean, maybe if I could find somebody by this Saturday. I don't think I'll be able to, but I'm just gonna hire somebody up here and just I'm gonna set up a 2-camera thing in the living room and see if I can make it work. And you know, have one on my board and one on the model, because it'd be really nice to be able to go out to the model and go, okay, you know, bend your arm, do a pose where you bend your arm and it's out, you know, so I can talk about how those folds work and everything. Where it's just so much easier to be able to go walk over and point at the model and go, see how this is happening and this is happening. The only problem is you got to make sure if you hire somebody who's not a model that they can do it. You know what I mean?
True.
Sometimes then they'll go, oh yeah, I'll do it. And then they get all embarrassed and they're like, I don't want to do that. It feels weird. You know, and you're like, okay, great. You know. Anyway, you might get some of that. You're going to get a fold, probably pulling here. Because when you're doing that, see?
Right.
Right? Look at
Like that right there.
And what's nice about that now, it gives me the idea to go, oh, if I put something on a shirt, then I can offset it over here. So it emphasizes that there's a fold there. Just like that NASA logo is doing, right? If this folds, you know, this it cuts here and it ends up over
Brings
here,
up.
right?
Yeah.
So those are nice little things that help show volume, okay? They're really great. And then like this, pull that behind there. It's probably going to be something here, fold here. You know, you're going to get something pulling here too. I have that. Yeah,
because
see?
that sleeve is, yeah.
And I might just go with this, you know, this kind of nice, you can't really see it here. So I might not be able to get too much in there because I don't want to confuse it with the hand. You know, make sure that hand is sort of clarified a little bit. You know, sort of build it real simply. He's probably going to have knuckles up here or whatever. And just simplify it, because from that distance, you're not going to see that much of it. Right?
Right.
Then this one can maybe go. One nice way to think of it, sometimes I'll just block it out sort of like squarish. Then you have that landmark, right?
Right.
You know, and then I can come in here and start to tweak these. And again, from this distance, you know, it doesn't have to be much more than that, really. Okay,
Mhm.
could be,
Mm.
like a. So then I look at it and go, is it more dynamic if I have the arm sort of bend off this way? Probably not. Like that. But
Yeah.
I try it, and then sometimes I go, okay, that feels very posy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna put it like a bit behind him, but then that also looked kind of.
Yeah, I think this looks better.
Posed,
I think if
yeah.
it got back here, it would start to feel weird.
Mm.
Like Nixon used to do that. He would do this weird thing. It was super weird looking. And he'd raise his shoulders up like that. Like he was such an awkward dude.
Really?
He has such an interesting face.
Who,
Like,
Oh,
Nixon?
true.
yeah, like his giant freaking jowls.
Yeah, he's just.
Artist had a
You ever
field
get
day.
chance, Go just look at clips from the Kennedy debate, the one where he got his ass kicked.
Oh, yeah.
Lost in the election. And you see Nixon, and it's black and white, and Nixon looks all pasty, and he's sweating, and he looks, the way he is, he's like, whoa,
Yeah.
And then they cut to Kennedy, and he's all handsome and young and tan, and full head of hair, and he's, great looking.
Yeah.
You're just going, and what it did is it kept going contrast, right?
Mm.
This
Yeah.
out of touch, awkward dude, and this super youthful, energy of the future. It was just, it's like, who are you gonna vote
No
for?
question.
I'm
Yeah.
voting for that guy. I'm not voting for that dude.
He'll be around a bit longer. Oh, but that's.
But he had an interesting after presidency.
Oh yeah. Even like the political cartoons during that time of Nixon are really like focused on this part of his face because he's
Oh, yeah.
always like his face literally just looks like he has like a bulldog face almost.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it just like totally droops down and it even shakes like when he
Well,
talks. Like,
And his head looks too big for his body.
oh yeah, he like looks like a bobblehead of a person.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I sometimes because I got a big pumpkin head. Which I hate. Every time I go try on a hat, I like hats, you go, oh, this one's too small. I have to get a big giant one.
Yeah, my boyfriend's the same way. I had to buy him like an extra large mask. We're at Target.
What's his
'Cause I-
what's his background?
He's like, what do you mean background? Like,
What's his nationality?
oh, Irish.
I was gonna say Irish. That's an Irish thing.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, because I'm half Irish. I was
I
gonna
always
say that. I was like, is he Irish?
Yeah.
Apparently, it's the reason I heard that is because like Conan was talking about that. And he's
Yeah.
going, it's an Irish thing, this big Irish pumpkin head thing, And I go, it sucks. All right, where you at? Where's Emily? I think it's Emily. There you are. I see you.
Me. Hey, Mike. Sorry.
This looks good. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Thank
You
you.
don't think so?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it looks
I-
pretty good.
I just don't know where to pop the lines, I guess.
Actually, you're doing pretty good. Like right here, where you're popping that. See how it pops forward? All this dark
Mhm.
line right here. You're starting to do it. You can't see how this is popping forward right here because you put that separation line on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your rule of thumb is where's the light. So if we're saying where's the light up here,
Sure.
now you got to know that.
Yeah, I need to hear.
And then the easiest way to remember it's the rule of thumb. Okay. Now this breaks the rule of thumb. Okay. This right here. But it's good because you're putting a separation line right there. Yeah, that's catching light and it should be a thinner line, but sometimes we can break that rule for design. Okay.
Okay.
And then I don't think you need as much stone on here.
Okay.
You lay back on that. Like if you're doing, a stone wall.
I was having a little bit of trouble simplifying that down.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Because it was just like when I was in school and my teachers would do something and I'd watch them do it and I'd go, oh, that's totally simple. Then I'd go to do it and I'm like, why can't I do this? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you know that this is all going this way. But what I try and do is I just try and keep this really loose. And then what I do, and I don't want too much of it. I don't want them all the same size.
Okay.
You know, I want them to break this edge because they would. And I build up, you know, sometimes I just do it as a lazy line thing like this. Oops, that one's not good. Make sure that I'm breaking up the shapes nice. And then and then it's going to pop over here a little bit. Let's get this one a little nicer, you know, and then I'll make sure that they look decent. And then I go my lights here, you know, and then here's one here. And then these are basically ellipses now. These have to kind of turn with, you know, this plane. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I just go, what'll happen is then I just kind of go, this is the side away from the light, so I'm just going to pop that a little bit. And it'll start really quickly to give it form. You see how it's starting to give it form just real subtly?
Mhm.
And it starts to pop this. And again, I don't do it everywhere. And then I kind of go, okay, I can put a little texture on here. Eventually, I can add a little tone to some of them. You know, then I can come up here and go,
Oh yeah. Do you want us to add any tone to these?
no, not yet.
Okay.
I want to get this, I want to beat you to death with this line stuff first.
Okay.
Because it's really important, okay? It's really important. I mean, all those things that you have to know in drawing, which is proportion, balance, you know, all that stuff. The line is right in there with all that.
Okay.
Because that's what's really gonna, again, that's what's gonna make your stuff look much more pro. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, and then these over here later on, you know, and then I got this and I go, okay, now I'm going to do my drop that so it shows that form, what's going on the surface. You know, and then maybe I put my, you know, lamp or something coming out of it. You know, and I just kind of build it up. And notice I don't go in and go, like I don't put this in and then go, you know, I'm not doing that. I'm sort of building it up.
Okay.
Okay. That whole thing of just going, creating this, that you're not finessing your line then. Because the line needs to sort of finesse. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It needs to have that sort of sensibility about it. And then this one, you know, eventually I could just put this side into shadow in a bunch of different ways. And then here, look, your light's up here, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? It means that this needs to get
Has a shadow.
yeah. Yeah, just think of it as a shadow. Look how it separates. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had something in my head and it just went completely just left. You know, and again, I might put a little bit of texture on this, depending on what kind of rock it is or stone it is. Oh, what I was going to say is, so this, okay, so like this is a way so I can get a little heavier back here. It's on the back side of this. This is, I usually darken up this line right there. So it gives it a little more form.
Mm-hmm.
This right here. I go a little darker and I pull it out into the light, right? It just gives a little bit of form. I know it's very small things, but it matters. So that's how our light is working in our line in relation to light, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you did here is you went, well, I'm going to break that rule because there's a bunch of stuff here and I want to separate it. That's also fine.
Okay.
What I always try and do is be very strategic about that, okay? So if I'm doing like, the example I always use is like if I'm turned this way, right? See how my sleeve is getting lost in the back? This is all becoming one shape. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I'm drawing somebody like that, and the light's here, I'm just going to draw a crappy human here. And here's my sleeve. A little pull fold on there. The arm's way too long. Close enough. Okay, does that make sense, this drawing?
Mm-hmm.
Let's give him glasses just for the hell of it. So if this sleeve isn't disconnecting from the background, then I might, and my light's here, well, then you can make the argument, well, that's in the light, and back here is really where it should get darker, correct?
Yeah.
But I might, just because it's getting lost here, I might maybe just here, you know, just there. I'm going to give it that to separate it. Where'd you go?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. That's so weird. You guys jumped somewhere. So I might break the rule there. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Which is basically what you did. So sometimes, think of it this way: it's showing the light, okay, but it's also separating things, okay. So the nice thing about this line here, this bottom of this top of this wall, is that this is doing two things. It's under and away from the light, but it's also really going to separate that lit that is coming out over in front of the wall. So it does a few things for me all at once. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Go to town on that in your sketchbook, man.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to find out, like, if you can kind of nail that down, and that's why I'm giving you a rule of thumb where it's fairly simple. Where you figure there's a shadow value, you know, you can go a little heavier, but finesse it also. Don't just, because I see people and they just go, and they just put a line. It's like, okay, that's not an artistic line. You know what I mean? An artistic line is more, you know, a nice thin to thick kind of thing, you know, not, you know what I mean? Where it's just I call it a dead line, right? If all the line weights are all the same, it's just sort of a dead line. Now, some people make that into a style, and that's cool, you know? But that's a different thing. Now, what I'd say here is be careful, because you got a lot of fat line everywhere. Right?
Yeah.
But one thing you might, and then get this figured out, this tree, right?
Yeah, I gotta work on that.
That's why I want you guys incorporating that into this. So this might just be a little more. I like that you curved the trunk. And again, you know, just think about where those masses are. Sometimes I'll just give myself some, you know, from that distance, you're not going to see much. You know, you're going to see light and dark. Go outside and look at these things too, by the way. You know, you're going to see a lot of this just sort of light and dark. I might put a really darker value down here. And I might even do like when I was showing you Jackie's stuff, or I might, if at this distance, actually I would probably make this just a big sort of graphic statement, sort of like that.
Okay.
You know, and break up this edge more. You know, I don't want it that much. Find a nice way to break up this edge. Might put a couple of leaves inside of here. You know, simple, right? You want to keep it simple. Okay, so you know what you're doing, right?
Yep.
And we're on our grid here.
Mm-hmm.
Looks to me like you are. You know, like this stuff, as it gets way back here, you know, it doesn't have to have as much information, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
But make sure these things have a little bit of thickness. Like this has a little bit of thickness.
Oh, I was gonna just silhouette everything back there. I'm not sure, cause
Oh yeah, you could. Well, I don't want to use value yet, but yeah, you could do
okay.
that. Right? Yeah, you could do that. So for now, I just go. If you know you're going to silhouette them, just leave them as silhouettes. Just
Okay.
kind of the way they are. It's fine. Because we're going to go to some quick tone on this. We're not going to spend too much time on it. And then I think I want to do a night shot of it. And that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, also these things, this isn't bad. But the way I usually draw those is like, you know, it's an ellipse like that. That's not a bad one. And then I break it up like that.
Okay, so like tilt it.
Well, you don't have to tilt it. I tilt them sometimes just to give it dynamism, but you don't have to do that. What I'm saying is, like, I like to build the structure, and then I can kind of come in here and build the little facets.
Okay.
And usually there's like a little thing there, and then I usually put the little crank handle on it. Just something like that. Okay.
Mhm.
You don't want this in there. And I don't even usually erase this stuff out. This will disappear. Like my construction lines, as long as I keep them nice and light and loose, they're basically going to disappear, right? And then here, like I said, with this wall, just get a little more coherent with this. You know, maybe it's a bigger one. You know, and then just do our lights coming from here, pop it a little bit. Give it a little bit of texture, so on and so forth, and you're done. Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so let's look at Ethan.
Hello.
We're getting like a lot of wobbly line and stuff up here. See that?
Yep.
Yeah, and then these are turning down. I don't have a problem with these turning down a little bit. Again, it's going to be, you know, sort of finish out like this. This one's off the grid here. That door, the top of the door here.
Yep.
See how it's dipping? You know, and then when you have something like this, like these things, that's going to have a little, you're going to see the inside of that a little bit. You're going to see, if this is a window, I'm going to see the inside of that a little bit, right?
Okay.
This is going to have some sort of ending. Looks like you're starting to put that in here. So, you know, what is that? Is it siding? Is it stone? You know, what is it? And then what's this overhang right here?
The overhang?
Yeah, right here.
That's, huh. I don't know. I didn't think you'd ask about that.
Well, you should know. You got to know what you're drawing down there, right? So if that's like a awning or something, give me more awning.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this is going to have like a frame or something around it. Again, I'm going to see a little of the inside like that. And then these things, like these lines, what do these represent?
Hold on.
Because if these are slats, what architectural style is this?
Tudor.
Tudor, okay. So if you're going to do Tudor, you're going to want to, you know, get that Tudor thing in there, which is a lot of these verticals and diagonals.
Okay.
They do a lot of that, okay? So I'd find places where I can pop that in. That's going to help you a lot. Just as soon as you start adding that detail over it, it's the same thing as that decorating the cake thing. With Tudor, it's mostly those verticals and those horizontals, or diagonals, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
So another layer of information and then correction, right?
Yep.
It's getting hot in here. It shouldn't be hot in. Is it hot down there? Yeah?
Like 80, 84.
Really? Feels like fall already down up here.
Lucky? It's been like climbing up to 90 like all week.
What do you need, Ethan?
Will this be like last time where once I get my drawing graded or reviewed, I can leave, or if there's something else?
You got some place to go?
No, I'm just asking.
I'd wait. Sometimes I do that, but I think today everybody's going to have some problems that are probably going to benefit you.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Like last night I did that in my illustration class. I was just going over people's stuff and I go, if I've already gone over it, it's cool. Because sometimes I do that. But I think when you're looking at other people's work, sometimes it's really good and it's inspiring. And then sometimes it's just like, oh, I'm having that same problem, you know, and it's good to see it solved. Okay. Who's this? This is Grace. Where's Grace?
Right here.
What do you think? We're still not on the grid though, are we?
Oh, no, I did put it on the grid.
Well, how come this one's going to some other vanishing point?
Oh, yeah, I have to fix that window, but
And then-
everything else I try to
and
get
then
it as close as I
These
could.
are, okay, is this an overlay over the grid?
Yeah, but I was still using the perspective tool.
Yeah, because this line and like this line on here, this one, and this
Yeah.
one are not on the perspective grid.
Okay.
You can see it.
I mean, I used it, but
but if you use the, look, if
yeah.
you use the, here's how I know that. Look. If I create a 2-point perspective, here's my grid. If I create a 2-point perspective and I have my grid on, it's not going to let me make a line like that. It just won't let me. I have to turn this off, and then I can make a line that does that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not horribly off or anything, but it's like you got to get it right on. And then here's what you want to do. Same thing here, by the way. Like if that door is open, I want to see in there a little bit, right? And same thing with this window. I'm going to see a little thickness, or I might put a, you know, curtain in there to make it more interesting. This is a door here, right?
Yeah.
So is that a, what is that? Because that's a really tall
It's like
door.
it's like an entryway.
So I
I
might
don't
do
know how to
something.
describe it. Yeah.
I might just do something a little more interesting with that door. If it's such a big, tall, grand door, it might make it a little more grand.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then like this is going to have an end. I might make this a little bigger. This ending here. Same thing. You're getting that a little bit here. That's good. I mean, I don't mind the, okay, there. Might be nice to get something here in the foreground. It sort of just ends. Right? You know,
Yeah.
maybe this line, you know, is there something I can pull out here so it'll sort of show the ground plane? Like
Yeah, I
where is,
wasn't sure what to put there, so I just
Where is
left
this?
it. But what do you
where's
mean?
this at?
I didn't really think of a specific location. I was just looking at kind of references.
What year do you think it is?
I want to say like early 1900s, late 1800s.
So I might look up and just see like, did they have crosswalks? You know, because crosswalks always good to put
Yeah.
in here. And if not, then I go,
I mean-
hey, it's a corner of modern day London. Then I just change my thinking, right?
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
You know, because then look, it gives me a foreground element, or at least a midground element, right?
Yeah.
And then also I would probably plot that off your thing and then go, okay, I got another, what do you call it? Lamp there. I can put, oh, you did put one back here. You know, and they'll repeat, and then that gives me a little bit of overlap. See that?
Yeah.
And I can pull this one out and pull this one down. I can go, well, here's my lamp on this side. And here's my lamp on this side. I don't know if I do that though. It looks a little overkill. And then are these like awnings?
Yeah.
So then I might, are they fabric?
I wasn't sure what material, but I might go with fabric just because.
Well, I
it
might
looks
go
more
with fabric because
dynamic.
I can go, okay, I can do a little pull fold on them. And also I can do
Yeah.
that, you know, the ones that have the little spikes through them and they have the little pointy things.
Yeah.
I could do that, and that starts to become a little more interesting. You know, so I'm just looking at things that I can make things like this kind of thing. It needs fascia board, so like right here. And then, you know, maybe add a little trim thing there, pull this out a little more. You know, and then I'm going to put
Yeah.
my stuff on it. So I'm just looking, like once I have this laid out, you know, kind of on the grid and everything, then again, I ghost it down, and then I start doing my freehandy stuff and adding things in and all that. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But think about these things like this isn't, this isn't just a, it's not a lamp, it's an overlapping element, which you need in your drawing, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe I could think of something, that could go here. Sometimes I just put marks here and I just start figuring out what it'll be. Like, okay, something dark there would be nice, Maybe it's just as simple as a tree branch coming into here. Or over here, or whatever. Or it can be some plant coming into the view, whatever, right? I don't like this one, but you probably could get away with something down here. Okay?
Sorry,
Yeah?
what don't you like? Sorry about that. I was taking a screenshot just for my reference.
Oh, well, it'll go up on Zoom as soon as I get it edited.
All right, cool. That's fine.
And I know here and there I've been getting slow on getting the Zoom videos up, but I think I said this. I mean, I got to get a bunch of stuff done, and then like a tutorial like that one I had to put up today, actually. That's super important, so I'll push off just the regular class edits until that's done, and then it takes a little while to edit them and load them or export them and then load them onto YouTube. It actually takes a few hours to get all that done. Okay.
All right.
But I'm trying to stay up on it. What are you doing, Emily? What are you smiling about? Clue us in. Okay. Where's Jesse?
I'm here.
Okay, starting to play with plant studies, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that all making sense?
Yeah, are they reading well?
Yeah, they're reading pretty good. I think I would mask. I want you to play with them for a while before I get crazy with. I might with something like this. This is getting pretty good. I might kind of mask these ideas together a little more. And might just be able to do it by a little bit of line separation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just a little clarity. I don't want to do it everywhere. I just want to clarify here and there. And then you're building sort of a scribble language in here for the interior mask, which isn't a bad idea. And then it might just, you're kind of already doing it.
All right, hold on.
You're already doing it. And then, and I know this is probably a straight tree, but sometimes even if they're straight, I might just kind of do a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. Right? You there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to do that, but it's like, I think it helps. And then as it goes into the interior in here, like I like this stuff on the outside. I might kind of get that going. And again, I might wipe out some of this a little bit. Might go in and get pretty loose with it on the interior here, and then, and then sort of just fill these with that value. So it's so it feels a little more random and masked. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. The one at the bottom of that page on the left, that was like my second attempt at that same.
Yeah, I see. And well, see, you're starting to mask more here.
Oh, okay.
So you went from here, which doesn't work because it's all disconnecting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then here it's starting to work a little more. Why? Because you got some mass locking it together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's funny because I did it in the opposite order. So
you did this one first?
Yeah, I was thinking that wasn't reading well. So I tried to do something more sparse, but it's a really busy looking plant. So, okay.
Yeah, so you want to kind of squint down and you know what the real shape of it is, because it looks like it's sort of this sort of idea, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you go, okay, I'm gonna give him
Hold
some of
on.
that information around the outside, and then as it goes in, it's gonna get less and less, and then I'm gonna mask with a lot of dark, right?
Uh-huh.
And then where's this one at?
What do you mean? Where is it at in
Is it
life?
like at an arboretum or?
No, I was just outside of my apartment building across the street. The other apartment building had all of these plants. I was drawing them today.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I think this one could kind of break right there. And my perspective looks weird, but I want it to sort of break off just to get one. And I know it might not have bent like that,
Mm-hmm.
but just to get something covering up the other one and breaking a border, I might just put one in there, And then I might also, there's another thing you could do here. You could go, it's just from a graphic perspective. You can play around a little bit with this and this, and then and then build this foreground or whatever, and then maybe let's build this. This is real sloppy, but and then maybe these back here just go straight into silhouette to sort of push the front elements. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you can play around with these little light, dark graphic ideas and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of doing it here. Like these are getting silhouetted. These are much more linear. That's sort of the same idea. But it gets you a nice little read. And then these, what are these down here, these little ones? Are they the same as this guy, only bigger or smaller?
That little guy is like the other one, or the biggest one of those, that little bunch is like the one above. But the little fuzzy looking ones are, I don't know what they're called, but they're like little fuzzy looking balls. Kind of like little plants that look like that. They kind of look like succulents almost, but they look fuzzy.
Is it like a cactus?
I'm not quite sure. I'll have to get a little closer.
If I just hit it with a couple little lines, you can tell I can just give it enough definition that I think that's enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'll just find a place here and there where I can hit it to clarify it a little bit. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
By the way, did you guys see my NASA shirt?
Whoa.
NASA man.
Cool guy.
I know, pretty cool. And did you hear they might have found life in like Venus? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, isn't it up like in the atmosphere, like little bacteria things?
Yeah, it's a trip. Well, I think what's going on is that the thing they detected is always connected to life. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if it's something that life gives off, or I can't remember, but it was interesting. If you saw the scientists talking about it, I think they're pretty sure it is. They can't say it until they know 100%. But she's like, it could either be unknown science or it's life, which is kind of going as close to as a scientist can to going, it's probably life.
Well, either of those options is actually really cool, though.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Jesse.
Yes.
I think we talked about this. This vanishing point over on this is too close.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that. Okay.
You can see it, right?
Yeah. Okay. And I kept trying to draw it out and like drag it longer, and I was like, it feels too tight. It looks weird. Okay, I'll pull that out.
And sometimes what you can do too, I mean, like, I actually have to, I never use the crop tool in Sketchbook, but I'll go look at it before next class. So what I do a lot in Photoshop is like I go, okay, so I'm going, it's 11 by 17, right? And I go, that feels too tight. Then I just ratio the whole page up. So I'm still in 11 by 17 ratio. So I can always ratio it back to 11 by 17, but I can give myself breathing room.
Okay.
And if you do that, you're not changing the vanishing point. Well, you're going to have to change the vanishing point. So that's that. But I think you're getting how to build this and stuff now, right?
Yeah, I feel a little more confident with it. There's still some things I want to work out. I'm just trying to get comfortable. Like drawing digitally is such a different journey than traditional. So just even like, learning line weight with an actual pencil is already a journey. And then learning like iPad pencil line weight is interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to work it out.
You guys are walking into a world I didn't have to walk into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they're walking. When I came out, I've always said this. Like when I came, even this was '90s or whatever. That the computer was coming in, but it hadn't taken over. But even before that, you came out of school basically going, okay, you have to know how to draw really well, paint, and design, and then put all those things into service to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they go, oh, you got to know 3D, you got to know. And then 3D, by the way, is its own animal completely because, you go, okay, you learn Maya. And then or every time you talk to somebody, like go talk to Frank about 3D, you go, okay, what should I learn? He'll go, okay, you start with Maya, and then you want to go over to Keyshot and learn how to do this. And then you render and everything in Keyshot. And then then you got to learn ZBrush because if you want to do anything organic and just sort of sculpt things like characters, that's ZBrush. And then ZBrush, you use this other program to texture this and to do that. And and then you take it into this program to light it. And then you do, you know what I mean? It's just like all these components to it. Like there's so much to know just there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
but it makes sense.
Yeah. And so
programs are super expensive too.
Yeah. But I don't know if I think Maya, I don't think Maya is. Anyway, I can't remember. But
Maya, I think if you want to like just straight up buy it and you don't have any connection to like school or work, it's like $5,000.
It might be, but I don't know if it is or not.
Oh, somebody just said in the chat that the student version is free though.
Yeah. They give you like 5 years in the student version for absolutely free, I think.
That's really cool.
Well, after that, then it's like you should be working and somebody else will pay for it anyway.
Yeah, that's how you got to do it.
And then there's also After Effects in there. There's potentially, video editing in there, some graphic design in there, some, a lot of illustration, a lot of, it's a big giant skill set, depending on what you want to go into. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so move that. Oh, that's me. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. When I looking at my drawing, in the background from the house that is in the background, should I toss in a few more houses back there too?
Yeah.
I know it looks too naked, but I don't know where else to build or how else to kind of build on that.
Let's see. We got one here in the foreground. Sometimes I'll turn this one. So you have this basically. That's weird they didn't fill that. So that's where your thumbnailing comes in handy, but you can go. So I might, instead of turning this way where you're making it really narrow, like unless you want to make it narrow, as a stylistic thing, sometimes I'll turn it this way and just have the roof coming in. See the window maybe? Then I usually put something on the roof to make it interesting. Whatever that is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then you have, this whole idea. So now we have, whatever you call it, corner. And I got this going on. Mine's too big. Hang on. I'm going to make this smaller. Then I'll adjust the other one. Well, look, let's do it here. So I might do that. And then I could just continue. That's weird. I could continue some of this going this way. you know, I want to get some different shapes back there. So maybe I'll do a different kind of house or something. Not the same thing. And maybe there's another corner here, and then over here on this corner, there's a, I don't know, flower shop or something. The little awning and a sign or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And just to clarify, we're just keeping this in like the drawing pen, or are we gonna add color to this or value or anything?
We're gonna add value.
Oh, okay.
And then again, I'm gonna do a night scene. We're just gonna talk about value a little bit. That'll go pretty quick. You know,
Okay.
Probably just talk about blocking it off in 3 values, and then talk about a night scene. And also, I want to show you some stuff in Photoshop how you can play around with different techniques in Photoshop. Like,
Okay.
you know, using layer masks and things like that, where you can kind of paint the value in and paint it back out, stuff like that.
Okay. Done.
And also using it for correction. A lot of times I use layer masks and things like that in Photoshop to play with the drawing and try different things without losing the other stuff, which helps. Where's Karina?
Right here.
Okay, these are looking a little better. What'd you do? You added this, that wasn't there, right? Looks like you added more like surface stuff.
Yeah, I'm still not done because my laptop kept crashing my program.
Now again, be careful. Now we're getting really far apart with that idea. You got to
Yeah.
find a happy medium, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I might cluster some of them and then let them sort of fade off. Probably break up this roof somehow. And then be careful with things like these corners. You see that?
Yeah.
Things aren't usually, like buildings aren't usually like that. Okay, that's when they start looking like ruler drawings. And that's why I'm talking about this so much while we're doing this, is because that's why I take it now after I get this whole perspective thing laid out, and then I ghost this back and I go back over it freehand and loosen everything up, right?
Right.
Like this corner here is probably going to get a little bit of a curve to it. And then there's, you know, probably some, like these things don't just end. There's usually like something in here, or this is pulled out a little more over the edge, probably. You know, something, right?
Right.
And then what's this? Is this overhang?
It was supposed to be for the windows, but I started having issues with it, so I need to go back and fix it.
What I might do is just go, maybe just pull another perspective line off this. You know, and maybe I can put like a flower thing here. Like a flower window box, right?
Right.
Then it would just give it a little more purpose, you know, and then maybe these have something on them. And then these should get some sort of, whatever you call it. This door could have some sort of pattern on it. And then how is this going to end? They don't just die into the ground like that, right?
Right.
So how's this going to end? Does it have trim down here?
I was going to put plants on the side.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah.
And then come up with something here. You know, this could have a planter. It looks kind of weird, actually, but gives me a chance to put more plants. It's just everything's got. You got to look at that. Like buildings don't do that, correct?
Correct.
They don't usually just die into the ground. Now, again, sometimes houses do, but then they know they're dying into grass and they're going to have shrubs and landscaping, right?
Right.
They look weird. Like sometimes you see a house for whatever reason, and you know, when they first build them or whatever, and nothing's grown in, it looks kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it looks like you're staying on your grid and everything, so that's good. You know, and then give me a tree or something back here.
Okay.
And maybe, you know, what can be in here? You know, what's in here? And my go-to is always fountain. I don't know why. You know, it could be something in there because it feels like a square or something, right?
Right.
Plaza, as they say.
Okay.
Where's Mackenzie?
Right here.
Okay, so what do you think?
I just trying to focus on making it not look so flat, I guess.
Okay, so one thing, where's your light?
My light, I didn't really have one because I didn't think you want us to put like value in it.
No,
like
no
you said.
value line, remember?
Or, like,
Yeah?
yeah, I didn't really think about it. I would just, because there's no really shading that much on it, just angles.
I know, but there's line quality, correct?
Okay, yeah.
And one of the main reasons we're doing it, well, one of the other reasons we're doing this is I want you to start understanding how to block out light using nothing but line, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, I'd either put it up here. I'd probably put it up here,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, and then you're going to start to get to pop things like that because that's an overhang here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here, all this overlaced. And then also, like, again, this isn't going to end. Probably, these things aren't usually this thin. They usually have a pretty substantial thing going on here. And sometimes they have that real, I'm not sure if they would, I think they do this in Japanese too, I think. You know, they get this really weird sort of, it's sort of like Spanish tile, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know, get some of that on there. What you got to do is start populating this with some punchy line. That's going to help you get away from the flat thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to help a lot. You know, and then here, like all these overhangs back here. No, don't go that fat. But, you know, I might even give this a little bit so it'll separate. And then this stuff, I'm going to really start to go, I'm going to get some of this. There's all sorts of stuff in this that's really interesting from a architectural perspective or a shape perspective. These are, you know, away from the light. I can get a little darker. All these overhangs. Like this is his stand, right? Like a food stand.
Yeah.
I might pull this up and break this, you know, this border or this edge.
Mm-hmm.
Pull these up. This would definitely be thicker. See how thin that is?
Yeah.
You know, and then find some stuff I can put in there. You know, I might have, maybe he's got some flags going in here.
I had lanterns on him.
That's good.
But I didn't know how to make them look three-dimensional and not so flat from like a side angle because they were like round lanterns. So I just decided not to put them on.
No, you come in here and you go, how do I do lanterns?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I mean, if they're the round ones, you don't have to worry too much about that because it's more or less a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is just know like where the little lines that separate it going to go. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, depending on where your, you know, lantern's going to be, whatever it is here, and they have something, I don't know, something down here, I think. And then they usually have some, now if I'm looking down at it slightly, the same thing we were saying about the tree earlier, then these are going to be going this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I had them up high up here where I'm on the ground looking up at them, now I want to see a little more of the bottom. So this is going to come in here a little bit. And then these lines are going to go now the other way because I'm looking up at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to see as much of this now because it's buried under there. You know, and then sometimes they have a little of that. But you got to be careful. You don't want it to get gridded looking. Does that make sense? So I'd probably just pick this one, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it just matters, you know, which way they're going in relation to how you're looking at it. You know, and then same thing here. There's an overhang right there. I might even do a little dark coming down into the light. This for sure, I'd probably go darker. You know, I'd put something on this building. Maybe it's the entrance. Maybe there's some kind of entrance coming in here. Then maybe more of your lanterns. Same thing here. It's probably going to have some sort of door. So just get some surface stuff on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then these things too, like later on, I might, when you go free-handed or whatever, I might turn some of these a little bit because they get pretty wonky.
Okay.
You know, you can leave one or two straight.
Just to give it like some personality.
Yeah, and it breaks up it gives you some diagonals.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put a bird on there. Maybe a pelican. Same thing. Make sure these don't feel too flat.
Yeah, I was kind of struggling what to do with the top of it.
Well,
But
look at
yeah.
Just go look at some reference. Just pull, you know.
Yeah.
But the main issue you have right there is how do I end that bridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's usually some interior stuff going on in here. You know, you don't
Mhm.
need a whole lot of it, but you know, there's usually something going on in here.
Yeah, I just felt like that there's already so much going on. I think I might have turned in the wrong one because it's not. There should be more on the bridge. Like I put some more
Wait, let's see.
thingies on the other side of it, not just one side. I think I turned in the wrong one, but that's fine. It's just more lines on the back side.
But you see how we're starting to, you know, add some surface stuff onto it. It just makes it a little more interesting and punching a line a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want you to get out of
What are
it.
you
Okay?
using? Because in the Sketchbook Pro, I'm using that ink pen tool that you told us to use. If you want me to
Just
use
find a tool in there you like. It doesn't have to be. I like that one, but you might not like it, and that's fine.
Okay.
I know this guy used to use the pencil. I think it was in this program. Use a pencil tool. Man, his stuff was cool, man. He was a student. I don't know whatever happened to him. I have some of his work somewhere. I should pull it out. Okay. Okay, be careful with what you're doing here. Yeah?
Yeah, I was just trying to block it out and put it like in the correct perspective because as you can see the like doodle that I had that I lowered the opacity in the background to try to.
I'd say when you're doing that though, I would just come in with that grid. That's what I like about the grid. Oops. That's what I like about the grid. So I just start pulling these lines, this, and I just start building all this stuff very quickly because my perspective tool will do it for me more or less. Because that's kind of, you know, and then pull this out a little more. They don't usually just hug the edge like that. Pull that out a little more.
I think it was pulled out, but me putting the lines over it kind of blended that back into the background.
And then put that in. Make sure that follows that. I always put a board here. I don't know why. You know, same thing there. And just block them out real quick because the perspective tool will let you do that. That's what I like about it. So I can just block stuff out super fast. And then
Not like using the tool, it like 80% of the time wouldn't work even though I was following the perspective lines. Like it just wouldn't draw the line. I don't know why.
I've never had that problem.
That happened to me a lot too, Savannah.
So you're having it where it's just not drawing a line?
Yeah, it's like I'll sit there and I'll do like 10 times trying to draw the same line, and I get really frustrated. And I'll do it like really hard, and then
Is
it'll
it a
work.
really small line?
That might be it. Does it need to be longer?
That's a glitch with Sketchbook. Like if you go in and go, of course now it's doing it. But I've noticed that I think it's mostly on the perspective grid. If you're doing like a really small line, sometimes you have to zoom way in for it to. It's weird.
Okay, that makes
If
more
it's a
sense.
small line, it's not you, it's Sketchbook. It's a weird glitch with it because it drives me up the wall. Like a lot of times in the perspective grid, if I'm doing that thing where I have like a, something like this underneath something like the little support pieces, these little pieces, when I'm trying to do it, it won't draw them. They're not big enough.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of those on there too. So right now they're not drawn in.
I just zoom in on it. And I usually, and then I'll be real sloppy with it. Where I'll go, okay, I'll just give you a bigger line. Screw it. Like that, because I know I'm going to draw over it anyway. I'm going to ghost all this back and redraw it anyway, so I don't worry about it.
That's what most of this is actually, because I was like, well, I guess I'll just do extra lines because I'll just draw back over it.
Yeah. So again, probably the thing. Look, there's a weird thing to me with Sketchbook, which is I think it's good for this and stuff, but they've never seemed like they care that much about it to me. Because these are Autodesk, the same people that make Maya and all that. So in my mind, and then they made it free like this year. So then you go, okay, now you're really not going to care about updating it now because it's free. You know what I mean? And that could be wrong. I don't know. What do I know? But yeah, that's not you. That's the program.
Okay, yeah, because that's why I didn't get very far with it, because I kept going like, something's wrong with this. I better ask you.
Well, it shouldn't do it like on bigger normal lines. It's usually just small stuff. That's the only one I've ever had a problem with. And also, if it's not drawing a line, always make sure, because I do this all the time in Photoshop, make sure that you haven't switched your tool to like white, and then you're drawing white on white and it's not showing up. Because I do that. I just did it today, actually, in this meeting. Okay.
Yeah, there's a button on my pen that will switch it from pen to eraser, and I hit it all the time. And I'm like, why isn't this drawing?
I never have been comfortable using the buttons on the pins or anything.
I don't like it either, turning it off.
Yeah, because it's like then I keep hitting. I think this, by the way, is not a good design at all. It's awkward. It feels awkward. They have a nicer one now that's a little sleeker.
This doesn't work.
They have a nicer one now that's a little sleeker, and I actually want to get one of those. I just forgot about it. Okay, so you know what to do, right?
Yeah.
Taylor.
Hi. Let me move this.
You got a lot of random mark making back here.
Yeah, I'm like trying to figure out what to do with the mountains, because I was thinking like, okay, maybe I should just like silhouette them, but at the same time it's like I don't really want to, but I'm trying to figure out how to get the correct definition for like.
Also, look, here's another thing. You don't want this building to become so unimportant.
Okay.
So I might make that a little bigger. You can still go out of frame, but you don't want it to be, you got to be careful when you're making drawings that all the elements aren't really tiny. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're also sort of like, what's important, and then these marks here on the board. Those are random, right?
Yeah, they were supposed to be like, you know how in the desert they have like staples on them for some weird reason? Like they're just like everywhere? Yeah.
But you might, change that around a little bit. Number one, I'd loosen up that board just a little.
Yeah. It just felt weird, like naked,
that.
I guess.
And you could also go, instead of having those, you could kind of go, maybe there's a bent nail.
Okay, yeah.
Then maybe just a slight indication of, and then I might break the top up a little, like, they get chewed up on top.
Yeah.
Do a little of that, round it off. And just mess it up a little bit. Then you got this over it. And then this could have.
Oh, like the little, what's it called? nut or whatever.
Yeah. And then this probably would have some sort of border element to it.
Okay.
And also, I'd round this off.
Oh yeah.
You know, you got to be careful with this sharp edge. It's just like this. The reason I'm saying go this way is that has a lot more character to it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You got to, okay, so what I'm trying to get you guys to do is go, okay, we're doing we're using the perspective tool, but we got to get it out of looking like a ruler drawing, right? So
Right.
again, you see those drawings that come out of basic drawing where it's, they draw it with a ruler and it just they tend to look pretty uninteresting. I mean, it's an exercise. I'm not knocking it. Just,
Yeah.
they're learning perspective. And I did the same thing. And I did this, ruler drawing. Oh my God, it looks amazing. But it doesn't. It looks every line's the same weight. All your edges, all your corners are super sharp. It's like you're not really making a lot of decisions. You're learning this technique or whatever. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do now is take that and go, let's break it up. Let's give it some personality. Let's use that tool for what it's great for, which is to get us into perspective really quick and then know how to draw over it and give it personality again. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Same thing with this guy. Get this a little more structured.
Mm-hmm.
This was my demo on Saturday. You're not in my Saturday class, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we did the plane, remember?
Yeah.
So now you know how to do a plane.
Uh-huh.
This can probably get a little bigger. Maybe it's got a prop on it.
It does make sense for that. It's an old plane.
And then where's your light?
Corner?
Which corner?
That one. The right corner.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe we've got, and I know I'm telling you not to use value,
Right.
but maybe it's got a little cast shadow in there. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little cut line, couple of cut lines here. Be careful with all this random mark making and this too. Get that organized.
What should I do with, because I know it's not like a straight line, but I know it's just like rocks and brush. That's kind of what I was figuring out because I didn't like how I just had it like a straight line.
These, by the way, are still going to follow perspective.
Right.
Like that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how does this end? Is there a curve here that have to be, or not have to be?
Yeah.
Maybe it's more one of those ones that slopes like that.
Okay.
And then round it. And then this has got to kind of break the edge a little bit. And then this stuff I might indicate a little bit. I tend to do like just some texture and things like that. So if that light's there, then these are going to be casting shadows this way.
Should I do like a certain brush for the texture or just put it in?
I want you to kind of figure it out. We're going to talk about texture brushes and things later.
Cool.
But like when you're doing this, I might find this shape language, and then maybe put a rock here and there.
Right.
And then maybe there's a bigger shrub out here somewhere. And I'm not trying to fill it. And then I do a lot of like, okay, so the light's coming from up here. So this is going to have shadow value. And then I can use that to kind of start to give a little bit of value to them. Just these like little, they're not random, but I'm filling space. Like, see how that's starting to feel a little groundish?
Yeah.
And I think that's a tricky thing. Okay. Because you've got to interpret it. And then you're interpreting like if I go outside and look at the ground, I'm going to go, well, how the hell do you draw that. It's just a bunch of random nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to just start interpreting it. And one of the biggest things you got to do as a designer, and especially as a drafts person or whatever, you got to learn how to do that. You know what I mean? And I think, and that's why I'm trying to give you sort of this jumping off point with foliage and all that. Okay. And text, the idea of texture. Okay. You know, but then I bring this in, and then maybe in the foreground, you know, like here, maybe this all becomes sort of massed together.
Okay.
So then I've got this going on, right?
Yeah, that's how I actually started doing it, and then it like, I don't know, I stopped doing it because I thought it felt like non-deserty, like it kind of felt more like suburban-y, but yeah, I give it.
As long as you support it with what's going to the background, the context of the scene, all that stuff speaks to it. So that's another thing, by the way, when you're doing a drawing, everything is supporting everything else.
Right.
So if I just draw, there's a lot of things I could draw that I draw, you know, like that kind of texture thing. Or if I take it out of context, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Okay. But then once you give me the clues like, oh, it's desert. Okay. It's scrub. Like your brain starts going, oh, I know, you know, it's reference points. Okay.
Right.
So everything in that drawing is supporting that idea of where this is and all that sort of thing. So you got to remember that everything's supporting everything. Okay. And if you zoom in on something, we all do this and we're looking at something, yeah, it's funky. We'll zoom back out because then you might zoom out and go, oh no, that's cool. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm trying to find places where I can sort of mass it and then, you know, gather it and dissipate it, you know, put some marks that sort of show the ground plane, you know, and scattering it around enough where it looks, you know, full, but not repetitive and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then these hills, you got to come up with a plan there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of ways to do that. You know, there's all the simple, you know, depending on what kind of mountains they are. One thing you can do is you can sort of, you know, again, I'm probably going to break this down here somehow. So it's not just, might even put a little house back there that's not even detailed out. Maybe like an old barn or something, just to break up the bottom. You know, and then I could go, okay, my light's up here. I could just real simply block it out and start to pull a little bit of value into it, and just to sort of determine there's two sides to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, another thing you can do, you know, it could be a more vertical rocky thing, you know, where they kind of come in like that and they sort of start to build up into sort of a rocky idea. It could have, you know, literally rocks on the side of it where I start building these things, breaking it up, you know, depending on how rocky it is, you know, and then I could have a couple of, you know, have it coming down. You could probably find some here. Hang on. I'm going to break it up. Okay. And it just depends on what type of hill I'm doing.
Yeah.
See if I can find
the
this.
second one is more closer to what I was kind of thinking about doing. Like I started doing that with the tops, and then I just kind of like stopped after a while. Just like piling stuff over on each other. Because I looked at like the whole mountain, and like I basically did the thing you're talking about when you look at the ground and you're like, how do you put all of that on there?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm trying to find the drawings. Well, there's here. I know there's one. This one's really, really sort of geometricized, but I think it works kind of cool. No. These are a good example of this, though. Hang on. See how he's starting sort of like, you see how he's just using his line here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly what we're doing, okay?
Okay.
And then he goes to value, right?
Yeah.
And look how simple this value is. It's really simple, okay? But that's not what I was going to show you. Hang on. This is what we're doing. Look at his line. His line's what's carrying the day here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the drawing's got to work without value. There's always this, here's another way of stylizing rocks and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And this is what they do. Sometimes they do this where they build one on the other. It's actually what I was starting to draw here, this kind of idea.
Right.
You know, these are nice. Well, that's a great one. I wonder what that's for.
Restaurant?
Yeah, but it looks a lot like he took the top of this from Hop Louie's over in Chinatown. At the bottom. Yeah. Ed does I think he does visual development for, you know, last time I heard he was over at Disney, but I like his sketching style. There's our tree idea right there. See it?
Yeah, the masses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only he's not even putting any foliage because he didn't need to. Because his information is actually about this. By the way, somebody's doing corrugate. There's that same idea. We're talking about corrugated tin. Actually, these are really good examples of this stuff. But he had one in, there it is.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Hey, see how he's starting with boxes?
Yeah.
And he's starting with boxes straight up, man. Right?
Yeah.
Look at the trees, they're super geometric, you know. But kind of think like that, you know. And then look at the tree masses here. There's nothing there but triangles.
Right.
And that's the thing with this stuff. Like Ed, I went to school with Ed. There's Hop Louie's right there.
Nice.
See, so he does draw Hop Louie's. I think it's closed now, right?
What is?
Hop Louie's.
I'm not sure, actually.
It sucks, man. Like, it sucks when places like that go away. Anyway, trying to find some more cool stuff here. You know, another version of it.
Right.
Look at these. Look at how patterny he's working. Ooh, where'd it go? Look at this. That's a pattern in there. See that?
Yeah.
That's a pattern right there. Look how he simplified that. All this stuff, right? That's one thing. That's what I've always liked about Ed. When he throws down a sketch, there's a huge dose of design in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He doesn't just, he designs everything, you know? And that's kind of the way I always think about it, is like a sketch to me is a design as much as it is anything, right? And I hope we're kind of getting that now, right?
Yeah.
As much about designing as all sketching is designing. It's what it is. Like, you've got to interpret all these things, you know, and even if you look at a photorealist, quote unquote, person, they're still having to interpret what they're drawing. They're not, it's actually still doing the same thing, no matter how crazy you get with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just having fun. Look at these now. Oh, well. Look, here's another take on, look at this one.
Grand Canyon. Right?
No, I think that's a different canyon, I think. I don't know, it could be. Maybe it is. Well, it's a made up thing, but
yeah.
Look at this. Here's another take on it. That's really cool, actually.
It is.
You know, and here's his loose roughs. But see this massing of the interior shapes and all that. So the thing I like about this is that when he goes somewhere and he's sketching from life, this is Dodger Stadium. See how he's designing the hell out of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to think like that.
Yeah.
Look. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And like, look at this one. Throw some style all over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what that's going to do if you're doing this in your sketchbook all the time, it's developing your style. Okay? That's how you do it. You don't sit around and go, and I probably went on this tear before. You don't sit around and go, oh, I like Glenn Keane, so I'm just going to keep drawing Glenn Keane stuff and Glenn Keane. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Go in your sketchbook. It just happens. And do what he's doing. And what, anybody I know gets in a sketchbook like I do. Half the time I sit there and I just go, I want to design something, It might be a person that we use as a jumping off point, but I don't look at it as caricature. I look at it as stylization. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I look at what the toys so I got a whole sandbox, which is the entire universe outside my door or inside my door. I get to play with everything in that universe, whether it's people or cars or environments or whatever, and go have fun with it. And then your style will develop. Okay. But what I want to point out here is, here's another good example of, look at that fat line right there to separate this from that overlap in the building, right? There's nothing to do with the light. And he puts in these darks to separate those buildings, darks down here, okay? This use of this is an old trick too, using this gouache in between to pop everything out, right? And then these kind of things, or this. Okay, he's organizing a lot of information there and breaking it down into real simple stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So the more you can train your eye to do that, the better you're going to be as a designer.
Right.
Okay? That's partly what your sketchbook is for that too. Go in and go, it's an overwhelming bunch of information. How do I simplify the hell out of it? That is going to help you a lot as a designer. Okay. It's also just going to help your eye to interpret things.
Okay.
This one. Look at that great, all this dark foreground stuff, and then back to a mid-value gray back there. All super designed. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have rabbit ears on his little monitor there, but he put them in there because they look cool, right?
Yeah.
Look at his old phone. Anyway, it's just design, right?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so now that kind of explains a little more about that, correct?
Yeah, I get what to do now.
And I think like rocky hillsides, they're tricky. You got to mass things together, just like we were talking about. Yeah, like when it's got a lot of rocks and stuff, you got to kind of mass things together, and then and then let them dissipate off, and make the statement enough for the viewer to know. The pinnacles are out the back of our house here, and it kind of looks like Joshua Tree. It's all rocks and stuff like that, and it's again, it starts to look like texture from a distance.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to overplay it, but I'm going to make some real definite decisions about how I'm going to design that. Let me screen cap this room one more time. Okay, so you know what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
And then I got Elan.
I'm here, Mike.
You still crazy? This looks great.
Thank you.
That looks great. Well, you got a big dose of Don Carson in there.
Yeah, I did. Definitely was doing that over the week, just looking at his stuff and other people's stuff too.
Now, okay, what I love about this is like you're pulling in the exact thing that I showed him for, which is sort of his simplicity and his kind of stylistic point of view.
Yeah.
This is a nice leap, man.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was
great, man. So
I was pushing it.
You've already put this on the grid and pushed it, right?
Yeah, that's
you're
what I did.
Close to done here. I might put the little, what do you call that? The lane marker.
The lane marker. Yeah, that's what I forgot.
And I don't know, maybe on another layer do this, because I could be wrong. Maybe it'd be fun to have. Yeah, maybe not. Feels like something could be right there. I don't know.
I might put like a fire hydrant.
There's a lot of stuff going on, so I don't think you have to like shove stuff into everywhere.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'd play around with it, but I don't know. And if
For
I
sure.
did anything, it'd probably just be like, maybe like a bus bench.
Oh yeah.
And then me sitting on the bus bench with my sketchbook, drawing. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking of adding some clouds in the back a little bit to provide some silhouette in the back.
I mean, I'm just dicking around. I don't even know if it needs that. But this is like, did this feel comfortable for you, this style?
Yeah, it did.
I like this kind of style when you're talking about this, entertainment stuff or any of that kind of thing. It's very clear and it's very, and it's, I know the point of view 100% here. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's good. Thank
Like
you.
you're showing me this, I know the point of view. Like no question, from a stylistic perspective and a layout perspective and all that. And you're starting to really, I think this is great. Okay, the only thing I might, this one right here, what's happening right there?
Oh, that was supposed to be the cutout for his food truck, for their food truck. Like they have those signs.
What is this up here? I'm not reading that.
Oh yeah, that's supposed to be a chef's hat, but I should probably
just clarify it. The idea is good, just clarify it.
Okay.
I mean, the chef's hats, don't they kind of go? Something like that. Something like that?
Yeah, something more along the lines of that.
I have to look at it again. I have one at my house, but yeah, just clarify that.
Yeah, I'll clarify it.
Other than that, you're almost done. Yeah,
Cool.
put the lane marker, or whatever it's called. There might be something on this. See, I don't know if it needs that though. All the stuff that I kind of want to go, oh, do this. I don't know if it really needs it. Maybe something like that, but that's it. I think that's it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think you've said what you need to say in here. I don't think you need to keep beating it to death. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about it.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Did you guys eat at Old Town? Elaine?
Yeah, we did.
Where'd you go?
We went to a ramen place that was pretty decent because Camille's vegetarian, so we were trying to look for vegetarian places.
Who's vegetarian?
And Camille.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Tell her to stop it. That's no good. The place to eat, well, one of the cool, I like that smoke place, that barbecue place.
Oh, yeah, we passed by that.
And then they still have everything on the street. We can eat on the street.
Yeah, they put outdoor seating, so while we were waiting for our food, we just drew people because there were a lot of people sitting outside.
It's a good sketch spot, man.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of people. There's great architecture to draw. That's a great spot. All right, you guys. I went through all the ones I have. So we're just heading to finish this week. Okay? Yes?
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you guys. I'm going to still try and do some kind of another meeting this week. So if I do, I'll put it up in all the classes. It probably won't be tomorrow because tomorrow's Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Probably won't be tomorrow.
Actually, Mike, I actually turned mine in.
You what?
I turned mine in and we didn't go over it.
Yes, Stefan.
I think it was a loose file. It wasn't in a folder. I think I saw it on your file list.
Sometimes I miss them. I don't know how I do that. It looks to me like your vanishing point is really close on that left.
Yeah.
And then some of this stuff isn't on it. So like the anytime I see a line that's wobbly and stuff like that, I know it's not on the vanishing point because it won't let you do that.
Yeah. I I drew on top of the grid. I didn't use the actual grid tool itself. So some of them
I
sort
get
of
it.
fell
What
off.
I like to do is just get it structured up, put in enough, and then I ghost it down, put another layer over it, and I start freehanding over that.
Refining it. All right.
Yeah, freehanding over it, loosen it up, but I know it's in perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then like these little things, like this post, it looks like a wire that would have weight to it. Correct.
Yeah.
So and then this is going wonky right here. You can see it.
Yeah.
That's forced right there. It's going, yeah. It looks to me like your vanishing points are, it's weird because these are going off over here and then this is going right there. Yeah, so get it on the grid.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, you guys. I'll let you go and I'll put this up as quick as I can. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Mike,
Thank you.
You want it done, like all the line work before Thursday?
I want it all on the grid and then ready to go to our last pass by Thursday.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Mike,
All right, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Mike,
What?
do you have the link for Dart 144? The class meeting link?
Yeah, what is 144?
Dart 144, fundamental continuing.
Yeah, it's up.
Oh, okay.
It's been up. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Mike. Thank you.
See you later.